continue to do what they do to memorialize the fallen, right? They're going to go to their cemeteries. They're going to visit those that we've lost in combat, and that doesn't stop. And of course, America will take some time off to remember those that have served and those that have given the ultimate sacrifice. So I want to speak with a veterans advocate that has an amazing story, and I can't tell her story for her, but she's going to tell it for herself. She's from Washington State. She's actually running for the U.S. House in Washington State's 4th District. She's a veterans advocate. Her name is Tiffany Smiley, and I want to welcome her. Tiffany, welcome to the program.
Hi, Rich. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Likewise. Thank you. And tell us a little bit about you, your background, how you grew up, and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, never in a million years did our family ever think that we would be involved in politics. But here we are. Our country, needs strong patriots who are willing to fight for the future for our children. I grew up on a farm in Pasco, Washington, just a small town farm girl, and always wanted to be a nurse. That's what I did when I graduated. I just wanted to help people, and married my high school sweetheart, Tiffany Smiley, who was a newly commissioned officer from the United States Military Academy. So, in some ways it was like, the picture of the American dream. I was a nurse. He was a military officer. My new last name was Smiley. It doesn't get very, very much more American than that.
Yeah.
But at that time we were, that was in 2003. We were well into Afghanistan and Iraq. Obviously, 9/11 happened when we were in college, so we knew the implications of service to our country. It was really real. We had friends that were already, being injured or coming back, and I mean, it was heavy fighting. It was a new war. It was terrorism, and unfortunately, our life forever changed on April 6th of 2005 when I was awoken out of bed before my nursing shift and, excitedly answered the phone because Scotty would call at all different times while he was deployed in Mosul, Iraq. But this time when I answered, it was someone else's voice on the other end of the line, and, they just started crying. They're like, "I'm so sorry. We don't even know if Scotty's going to make it." He came face to face with a suicide car bomb, and the bomb detonated. One thing we know is he doesn't have any eyes; they're gone, and we don't know if he'll survive. So,
wow,
that was a day that our quote unquote American dream blew up into a million pieces. And I resigned from my nursing job. I took a one-way flight from Washington State out to Washington, D.C. to meet Scotty at Walter Reed, and I didn't know if I was going to meet him dead or alive. And, at 23, your whole life ahead of you, it was a difficult time. I mean, it was a real sacrifice. And, as a nurse, I knew that I could help Scotty get well again. I knew that. But I made a promise to myself that I would come back and make it right for everyone else, because it was the first time that I experienced government dysfunction. And I saw firsthand the roadblocks and the red tape and the bureaucracy and the politicians. I saw all of it. And it was completely unacceptable to me. I thought it was so wrong. I thought it was disgusting how we treat our veterans, not just our veterans, but even their families, their caregivers, the people who, will be impacting their life and their care. It really hurt me. It made me upset that this is how our country operates. So I, since that day, have been on a mission to change the government from the outside and do everything I can. I was brought into a room with VA officials, medical officials, since I was Scotty's power of attorney, and they said, "Sign right here on the dotted line, Mrs. Smiley, and we will begin your husband's medical retirement." And I had a lot of questions for them. Scotty was in a medically induced coma. I'm like, they couldn't answer my questions, or better yet, their responses I didn't think were, adequate for what he had given.
Yeah, that's very frustrating. When people give you an answer that's kind of half-baked.
Yep. And I just looked at them. I said, no, I'm not signing it. I said, they pushed it in front of me again and said, well, Mrs. Smiley, we don't think you understand. Your husband has no eyes. There has never been someone to continue service to our country blind. Sign the paperwork. So I refused a second time. I was able to build a coalition who believed in this vision to allow our catastrophically injured veterans to fully recover before they even visit that process. And it's actually allowed many more catastrophically injured veterans to continue service if they want. But ultimately, my husband went on and became the first blind active duty officer to ever serve our country. So we served for a whole nother decade with him completely blind, something that had never been done before.
That's amazing. Tiffany Smiley, I want you to stick with me. I want to get the rest of your story and hear more about it. Incredible, very moving story. I have so many questions, I don't know where to begin. But, folks, we're on with Tiffany Smiley. She's a candidate for the U.S. House in Washington, 4th District. And you heard the story. We're going to come right back, pick up where she left off, and learn more about her campaign. Keep it locked right here. Don't go anywhere. As an American hero, Scotty was serving in Mosul, Iraq, and was hit by a roadside bomb, became blind, and was being pushed into a medical retirement by the United States military. She said, no, we're not doing that. Tell us why you said no, where you found the courage to say no, and how that played out.
Yes, well, being a nurse, we are the staunchest advocates that you could ever find. And I just knew that I had just walked in and whispered in Scotty's ear while he was in and out of a coma that he would never see again. And I knew the next thing I didn't want to whisper in his ear is I just signed away, the very thing that gave him purpose. I truly believed in the holistic picture, that to give him motivation and encouragement to get up and fight on, to have a purpose was so important. And indeed, that theory proved to be true. And he was still an asset to the military, an incredible asset. And a lot of our catastrophically injured veterans can continue to be assets to our country, and earn the respect and the dignity and the honor, and the job upward mobility that our country owes them. So I took it more from a holistic perspective. And, I was kind of mentioning, being at Walter Reed at 23 in 2005, and it was some of the heaviest fighting we had ever seen in Iraq and Afghanistan. And so I saw, the casualties coming in every day, and I knew I could help Scotty, but I made a promise to come back and make it right for everyone else. So that sort of began our political journey. I would go to Capitol Hill and take meetings with anyone who would take a meeting with me to fight for injured veterans, to fight for their families, because I knew how hard it was for us. And I kept thinking, what is happening to everyone else? That's where I kind of saw behind the curtain of our government. And, why does Congress have the lowest, approval ratings? Like, we need to change this in our country. And so that just led us down a path. I was able to work with President Trump on real reform for injured veterans and their families, that they could have health care down the street or around the corner versus driving miles or spending days just to get the care that they earned. And so sort of got into politics in that sense. And, for 20 years, I've dedicated my life to changing it from the outside. And now our family knows now is the time to stand up and fight and change our government from the inside. And that's why I'm running for Congress in Washington's 4th Congressional District. We are a very conservative district, a very Republican district, a red district in the heart of Washington State. We have an opportunity from this district to lead for all of Washington State in this country. And anyone can check us out and chip in and help us out, because this isn't just about Washington State. This is about the future for our children. This election coming up is so important. It is so important to our family that we preserve and protect the American dream. And not only that, that we protect the citizens of this country. So anyone can join me at TiffanySmileyForCongress.com. You can chip in. You can join our fight. We have a real opportunity to get, I was saying, like, real patriots, real Americans that want the best for this country, not the best for their political career. We need to elect Donald Trump. That's what I am fighting for every single day. We need Donald Trump's policies now more than ever. We have got to secure our border and stop the flow of fentanyl from coming into our communities. They're coming right into the 4th Congressional District. Not only that, higher crime. We have to make sure that we unleash American energy independence to lower the cost of gas and diesel, which will in turn help with the skyrocketing inflation that we are facing and lowering the cost of goods. So there's a lot of work to be done to get this country on the right track. I have great hope. Me and Scotty have been in very dark, seemingly hopeless situations. But I also know the goodness of this country. And in no other country could you go take on the DOD and take on, the VA and fight for a better way, fight for my husband to stay on active duty. In no other country could you do that. So we live in the best country on earth as long as we continue to have the courage to fight for it.
Tiffany Smiley is our guest. What a moving story. Both the way your service to your family, to your husband, and how that's kind of produced this service to your country and to veterans at large.
Yes.
What is the road look like? 'Cause I guess I don't know how to say this in any softer way. You seem like an incredibly nice person, almost too nice for Congress. Does that concern you?
I'm a farm girl, so I'm built pretty tough. And I think that's what we need in Congress. We need tough and grit, toughness and grit. And I wasn't afraid to stare down those VA officials and Army officials and tell them, no, I'm not doing something because I just knew it wasn't right. So I will take that same fire, that same grit, and that same can-do attitude all the way to the halls of Congress. And that's exactly what the people in the 4th Congressional District want. It's what we need in this country. And it would be an honor of a lifetime to work hard and serve the amazing people that, I grew up with and that were there for me and Scotty when our life was blown into a million pieces. That it's the full picture of the American dream where we started this whole story, that it's really about, each and every one of us doing what we can. And pitching in and fighting for a better future and fighting for a better America. I do believe that our best days are ahead of us. And for me and Scotty, we want to know that we are doing everything that we can to leave our 3 boys a country that is worth losing their eyesight for.
Tiffany Smiley, in the minute and a half we have remaining, what does your your Memorial Day plans for the weekend, what does that look like?
Yeah, so me and Scotty will be joining a Memorial Day ceremony at a very large cemetery in Richland, Washington, so in our hometown district. We will partake in the whole ceremony. My husband will be speaking. I spoke at it last year, and it's just beautiful. They have flags lining the whole drive in the cemetery. They have a parachuter come down with an American flag, and it's just, it brings tears to my eyes every single year when we sit back and remember, those that paid the ultimate sacrifice. And I have many friends, who have raised kids alone. And, for them, every day is Memorial Day. So for our family, it's heartfelt, it's emotional, and it's a reminder that freedom is not free.
Amen to that. Tiffany Smiley, folks, check out her website, TiffanySmileyForCongress.com. Tiffany Smiley, let them know how they can follow you on social media.
Yes, Twitter, Smiley for Washington, Instagram and Facebook. Come check us out, follow along. I would love to hear from you. Smiley for Washington are my social media handles, and then Tiffany Smiley for Congress.com. It is time to get this country back on track, and I appreciate each and every one of you listeners who are tuning in. This is an important election, and I always say everyone should be involved in politics at this point. So make sure you go vote and check out Tiffany Smiley for Congress.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany, and Godspeed to you.